Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Cycle on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Ramsey Enoch. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Now the news in full. President Bola Tinubu has ordered a full investigation into the gruesome killing of a housewife, Fatima Abubakar, and her 6 children at the Karinchi community in Kano State. In a statement issued by his special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Onanuga, the president condemned the attack, describing it as barbaric and condoled with the bereaved family. Tinubu also commended the police for the swift arrest of the principal suspects and directed security agencies to ensure diligent prosecution. Meanwhile, former national chairman of the All Progressive Congress, Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, has condemned the brutal killing of a housewife and her children in Kano State, describing the incident as tragic, inhumane, and deeply disturbing. He said the killings are a painful reminder of the urgent need to protect innocent lives and sustain peace in society. In a statement issued by his chief of staff, Mohammed Garba, Dr. Ganduje expressed deep sorrow over the incident and extended condolences to the bereaved family and residents of the Rai Chiranchi community in Gwale local government area, noting that such acts threaten communal harmony and must not be allowed to persist. The former Kano State governor commended the Kano State Police Command for its swift response and the arrest of suspects linked to the crime, urging security agencies to ensure thorough investigation and diligent prosecution. He also called on residents to support security agencies with timely and credible information to strengthen community safety. In the same statement, Dr. Ganduje also mourned the death of a prominent businessman and community leader, Alhaji Bature Abdulaziz, describing him as a towering figure in Kano's business community and a former leader of the Kantin Quarry Market Traders Association. He prayed for the repose of the souls of the departed and for continued peace and security in Kano State and the nation. Vice President Kashim Shettima has arrived in Davos, Switzerland to lead Nigeria's delegation at the 56th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum. A statement by his senior special assistant on media and communication says the vice president was received on arrival by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Yusuf Tuga, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Jumoke Oduole, and officials of the Nigerian missions in Switzerland. The forum, which brings together global political and business leaders, will be held from January 19 to 23, 2026. The federal government says it is set to inject an additional 30 billion naira over the next 3 years to stabilize and rehabilitate the 74 federal universities across the country. In addition to their yearly budgetary allocations, the Nigerian government also plans to increase budgetary allocation to the education sector to 15%, in line with the recommendation of the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, that is UNESCO. These measures form part of the agreement signed between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, that is ASU, Tact Stabilization and Restoration Fund. The funds will be paid in 3 equal installments of 10 billion naira yearly from 2026 to 2028 and managed by the National University Commission. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has congratulated the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, on his re-election as chairman of the African Minerals Strategic Group, describing the development as a strong endorsement of his leadership and Pan-African vision. In a statement issued by his Special Advisor on Information and Strategy, Bayo Onanuga, the president said Alake's re-election underscores the confidence reposed in him by his ministerial colleagues across the continent, noting that the AMSG has, under his leadership, continued to articulate a united African position on the management and benefication of the continent's mineral wealth. Alake was first elected chairman of the forum in 2024 on the sideline of the Future Minerals Forum and was re-elected at the group's 2026 annual general meeting held alongside the same conference in Riyadh. Meanwhile, the Federal Ministry of Solid Minerals Development has denied claims by the Northern Elders Forum that the federal government violated the federal character principle for siting a gold refinery in Lagos. The ministry made the clarification in a statement issued in Abuja by the Special Assistant on Media to the Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Segun Tomori. The statement noted that the allegation misrepresented comments made by the minister, Dele Alake, regarding the planned inauguration of a gold refinery project and ongoing reforms in the solid minerals sector. The federal government has amended the cybercrime charges filed against activist and former African Action Congress presidential candidate Omoyele Sowore on a social media post in which he called President Bola Tinubu a felon. The amended charge was signed by a team of prosecutors led by a senior advocate of Nigeria, Akinolu Kehinde, alongside two other sons who are overseeing the legal proceedings. The revised charge deleted the social media platform X Incorporated and Meta Platforms Incorporated, which were initially named as the second and third defendants in the case. Workers under the Federal Capital Territory Administration, that is FCTA, and the Federal Capital Development Authority, FCDA, have embarked on an indefinite strike, resulting in the closure of government offices across the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, and its councils. The strike follows a prior warning issued last Friday when the workers announced their intention to down tool over unresolved labor and welfare-related concerns. The industrial action was initiated by the Joint Union Action Congress, that is JUAC, which instructed employees at all levels within the FCT public service to withdraw their services. The Nigeria Meteorological Agency, NIMET, has forecast a mix of dust haze, sunny conditions, and isolated thunderstorms across Nigeria from Monday to Wednesday, with reduced visibility expected parts of the country. The forecast was contained in NIMET's weather outlook released in Abuja. The outlook highlights health, travel, and aviation concerns as suspended dust particles and intermittent rainfall are expected across the northern, central, and southern regions. The federal government plans to spend about 206.5 billion naira on poverty alleviation projects in the 2026 budget, an amount that represents less than 1% of the proposed 58.47 trillion naira total expenditure submitted to the National Assembly. A review of the 2026 appropriation bill shows that all poverty-related allocations across ministries, departments, and agencies, including the service-wide vote, and up to 206.5 billion naira. This equals roughly 0.35% of overall federal spending and about 0.89% of the 23.21 trillion naira capital budget. You're watching the live broadcast of News Cycle. News Cycle continues after the weather forecast plus business and foreign and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us.
Thank you for joining us. Our major weather highlight today is a surge of moist maritime winds affecting most of the southern region and part of the north-central cities. And this will result in higher humidity levels and warmer conditions across these areas. For the coastal zones, early morning thunderstorms with light rains are expected to affect the southwest coast as well as Cross River and Akwa Ibom states. As the day progresses into the late afternoon and evening hours, rainfall is likely to spread more inland, affecting parts of Ondo, Osun, Ogun, Oyo, Edo, Imo, and Abia states. Up north, conditions remain mostly dry and sunny. However, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi, and parts of Sokoto states will experience moderate dust haze with reduced horizontal visibilities of about 2 to 5 kilometers. Residents in the rainfall areas should watch out for brief rain showers, while aviation operators should check the NIMET e-flight folder portal for the latest weather briefings before each operations. And that's your weather update. Join us again.
Welcome back from that break. Now let's take you to the world of business, where the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, NEPC, says the non-oil sector earned $6.1 billion from export in 2025, making the highest performance recorded by the sector. The executive director of the council, Nonye Ayeni, made this known while presenting the 2025 non-oil export performance and the outlook for 2026. Our business correspondent, Kike Lomo Okere, was there for Global TV.
The Executive Director of Nigerian Export Promotion Council, Nonye Ayeni, says the non-oil export earning rose to 11.5% year-on-year in 2025, surpassing the $5.46 billion recorded in 2024. She noted that export volume also increased to 8.02 million metric tons, up to 10% from the previous year, reflecting steady growth across agricultural, industrial, and mineral products. According to her, Nigeria shipped 281 non-oil products to 120 countries, including Netherlands, Brazil, and India. The council attributes this record performance to strategic government policies under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's renewed Hope agenda, capacity building programs for exporters, enhanced compliance and monitoring, as well as strengthening partnership with development agencies.
Non-oil export performance in 2025 reached an all-time high. The non-oil export sector rose. Export rose to approximately $6.1 billion, representing a year-on-year growth of about 11.5% over and above the $5.4 billion recorded in 2024.
Looking ahead, 2026 promises further growth, she says. NEPC also plans to expand value addition, strengthen clusters, reduce exports rejects, broaden SME participation, and leverage international trade agreements such as the Nigerian UAE CEPA to open new markets. These measures aim to consolidate Nigeria's position as a leading non-oil exporter in Africa and globally.
This 2026, we will continue to recalibrate and re-strategize to be able to achieve much more superlative performance.
The NEPC boss reaffirmed its commitment to supporting Nigerian exporters and growing the non-oil export sector. Kike Lomo Okere, Global Television News.
The National Agricultural Land Development Authority, an agency of the federal government, has received a significant boost in the 2026 appropriation bill with a total allocation of 25 billion naira. up from 7.43 billion naira in 2025. In 2025, NALDA's allocation was entirely for a capital expenditure, primarily for land acquisition, land clearing, and the purchase of agricultural equipment aimed at increasing food production across the country. There were no separate recurrent costs in the 2025 budget. The 2026 budget, however, shows a more detailed and expensive approach. Recurrent expenditure totals 1.04 billion naira, covering personnel cost of 274.75 million naira and overheads of 763.26 million naira. The federal government has unveiled a new national housing strategy anchored on land reforms, urban renewal, and public-private partnerships to address Nigeria's growing housing deficit. The Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Ahmed Dangiwa, disclosed this today in Ilorin during the 14th National Council of Lands, Housing and Urban Development meeting. The theme of the 2025 Council meeting in achieving housing delivery and sustainable cities through effective land management, urban renewal, promotion of local building materials, and public-private partnership in Nigeria. And now let's take you to the foreign scene, where the United Nations says 3 years of war have put the Sudanese people through hell, blasting the vast sums spent on advanced weaponry at the expense of humanitarian aid and the recruitment of child soldiers. Speaking in Port Sudan during his first wartime visit, UN Human Rights Commissioner Volker Turk said the population had been subjected to horror, stating that funds that should be used to alleviate the suffering of the population are instead spent on advanced weapons, particularly drones. Here is Zarau Nasir's report.
Since April 2023, Sudan has been gripped by a conflict between the army and the paramilitary rapid support forces that has left tens of thousands of people dead and around 11 million displaced. The United Nations estimate that more than 21 million people are facing acute food insecurity, and 2/3 of Sudan's population is in urgent need of humanitarian aid, with the UN repeatedly warning of rampant interference from foreign actors.
The Sudanese armed forces must cease these intolerable attacks against civilian objects that are indispensable to the civilian population, including markets, health facilities, schools and shelters. Again, I leave with a plea that human rights be central to building confidence and bringing this war to an end, to resuming the difficult task of building a sustainable peace. It is certainly very difficult, but it is not impossible, and I feel very much encouraged.
In addition to the world's largest hunger and displacement crisis, Turk noted that Sudan is also facing what he described as the increasing militarization of society by all parties to the conflict, including the arming of civilians. The United Arab Emirates has been widely accused of supplying the RSF with weapons, mercenaries, and political backing, which Abu Dhabi consistently denies. The army's biggest backers are Egypt and Saudi Arabia, and it has reportedly also receiving arms, including drones from Iran and Turkey. Zahra Nasir, reporting for Global TV.
A tragic road crash south of Johannesburg has claimed the lives of 13 school children. Police says a minibus transporting pupils to school collided with a truck near the industrial city of Vadam Beach Park, about 60 kilometers from Johannesburg. Investigators believe the driver lost control while attempting to overtake other vehicles. The death toll rose after one critically injured child later died in hospital. Several other people remain in serious hurt. Authorities say the victims include both primary and high school learners. some as young as 6 years old. Images from the scene showed the minibus crushed on a roadside as distraught parents gathered behind police tape. Some collapsed in grief when they were allowed to identify the bodies. Gauteng Premier Piazza Lesufi described the scene as devastating. Israeli forces have wounded several Palestinians across the Gaza Strip after firing on civilians and carrying out air and artillery attacks in what Palestinian officials describe as near-daily violations of the ceasefire in place since October. Medical sources say the Israeli drone fired at early hours injured civilians in the Zayton neighborhood of southern Gaza City. In the south, 2 people, including a South girl, were wounded by Israeli gunfire in Al-Wasi, west of Khan Yunis. The Israeli military also carried out airstrikes on buildings in Rafah, while artillery shelling hit areas east of Jabalia in the north and the Tufa neighborhood of Gaza City, further raising concerns over the disability and durability of the ceasefire. And now to the world of sport, where FIFA Women's Champions Cup took another major step towards its historic conclusion on Monday with the unveiling of the tournament's new trophy, which will be lifted by the winners of FIFA's first Global Women's Club competition. According to a post from FIFA's X handle today, the trophy reveal took place in London and was shared with pupils from a school near Brentford Stadium, the venue that will host the semi-finals on Wednesday, 28 January. Former England international and Arsenal legend Alex Scott led the unveiling alongside FIFA Chief Football Officer and 2-time FIFA Women's World Cup winning coach G. Ellis. FIFA President Gianni Infantino condemned some Senegal players for unacceptable sins during the AFCON final, in which the eventual champions walked off the pitch in protest at a penalty awarded to Morocco. FIFA President Infantino condemned this in a statement describing it as unacceptable to abandon the field of play in that manner. Senegal coach Pape Thiaw has apologized following a controversial incident during his team's 1-0 win over host Morocco on Sunday. Thiaw briefly ordered his players to leave the pitch in protest after a penalty was awarded to Morocco's Brahim Diaz, who had been pulled by Malik Diaf in the box. According to Sky Sports, speaking after the match, Thiaw said, "I don't want to go over the incident. I apologize for the football. After reflecting on it, I made them come back on the pitch. You can relate, you can react in the heat of moment. We accept the error of the referee. We shouldn't have done it, but it's done, and we present our apologies to football." That's it on News Cycle. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and StarTimes channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen using @Global TV NG. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Thanks for watching.